If you place a bucket of ice in a room, the melting ice will absorb a large amount of heat, and the room's temperature will drop. This is the principle behind air conditioning cooling. But this process is very slow. So, being clever, you grab an electric fan and blow it at the ice. This speeds up the melting of the ice, and the room becomes much cooler quite quickly. However, this method of cooling requires constantly replacing the ice, which is very troublesome. So, being clever, you have a smart idea. You can use Freon instead of ice. Although Freon is a gas at room temperature and pressure. As long as you put it in a high-pressure container, it turns into a liquid. To make this device work, you build a completely sealed copper tube circulation system and fill it with Freon. Once it's running, the liquid Freon, as it flows through the indoor section of the copper tube, will vaporize due to a drop in pressure, absorbing a large amount of heat and thus cooling the room. Next, the vaporized Freon travels along the copper tube to the outdoors. This is the heat transfer process. How can you reuse the Freon? You can add a compressor to the copper tube. When the gaseous Freon passes through here, it is intensely pressurized. This process causes its temperature to rise sharply to around 80 degrees. To cool down the Freon, you add a fan at the coiled copper tube section. You call this device a condenser. As the gaseous Freon passes through the coiled tube, it releases some heat. The high-temperature, high-pressure gaseous Freon condenses into a liquid and then flows back indoors through the pipe. But the temperature at this point is still too high, clearly not meeting the cooling requirement. So, cleverly, you install an expansion valve on the indoor copper tube. When the high-pressure liquid Freon reaches the expansion valve, it instantly releases pressure, and the temperature drops sharply. It then flows into the initial coiled pipe, continuing to participate in the circulation of the entire system. To improve indoor cooling efficiency, you can equip the coiled pipe section with a circulating fan, which quickly disperses the cold air throughout the room. You can also install a temperature sensor at the expansion valve to achieve precise temperature control. If you integrate this entire system into an indoor unit and an outdoor unit, installing them respectively inside and outside the room, then congratulations, you have invented the air conditioner.